Today we take a look inside my everyday carry bag and see all the gear that I'm carrying for 2019, plus share with you a few of my favorite everyday carry bags. Well folks, here we are hanging outside. Really looking forward to today's video, being able to really break down my everyday carry gear, the things that I put in my everyday carry bag. It's gonna be a blast. We're gonna look through all of it. Can't wait to hear your guys' thoughts as well. I wanna hear feedback. If there are things maybe that I missed that you feel are essential to your everyday carry system, particularly when it comes to in an everyday carry backpack, shoulder bag, sling bag, whatever it may be. Now for me, I use a backpack. I used to do messenger bags and sling bags, but the amount of gear, which is usually about 15 pounds is what I usually will carry, that tends to be a little too much for a sling bag. It would fatigue my arm, my shoulder if I had to do any sort of walking distance of any kind. So I've decided to transition in recent years to completely just going, backpack when I'm doing my everyday carry, just because of the heavier loads that I do. So in this particular video, though, before we get to the tabletop and I gut the bag and show you all the contents, I just want to give you a couple quick ideas for some of my favorite everyday carry backpacks. And as we're sitting here, you're probably like, what the heck is that thing on his nose? The kids have been stuffed up for about a week and a half and sick and coughing, and I just picked up something from them a couple days ago. Thankfully I'm on the back end, but my nose is runny, I'm congested. You might hear it a little bit in the audio, and these Breathe Right strips definitely help open it up. I know I look like a goob out here, but function over fashion, right guys? That's what we're looking for regularly in our lives, probably for a lot of you. So anyway, what I want to do first off is comment on the two bags that were some of my favorite everyday carry bags for last, maybe 2017 into 2018, which was the Vertex Gambit and the Vertex everyday carry ready bag, or the EDC bag. And those are phenomenal backpacks. I use each one as my everyday carry for about 5 to 6 months over the last year, back in 2017, 18. Fantastic materials, fantastic quality, a lot of good layout stuff. But for the Gambit, for me, it was the right size that I was more looking for, but the water bottle pouches are too small to handle 32-ounce Nalgene's, which is what I tend to use a lot, probably a lot of you. And if I did try to jam them in there, it could kind of fit, but then it would completely eat up any space on the side organizational pockets where a lot of the organization happens. And so ultimately I looked for something else. Even though that's a great bag, I had to either go smaller water bottles to get the organization that I wanted to, or go larger water bottles and lose the organization. So that ultimately wasn't quite the fit that I wanted. I went to the everyday carry bag, everyday ready bag for a while, and that's a fantastic layout as well. The water bottle pouches are bigger, better, they don't eat up space for the organization, but it is a smaller backpack, and I was just looking for something a little bit larger that could handle bigger loads, bigger gear items, and more organization than I really needed. So they're both, again, phenomenal, and those would be bumped from first place last year to second place this year. Those two bags would fall into the second place arena. So if you were to come to me this year and say, hey man, in the last like 6 months or so, the bags that you've been using, if I'm looking for, around the 30-liter size range, what are two bags I could recommend to you? They would have to be the 511 Amp in the 24 size, their 24-hour bag in the Amp. Phenomenal backpack with more layout and organization and customability than anything I've ever seen before, which is phenomenal. Really good materials, internal or external water bottle pockets that zip up completely, very low profile, doesn't look all tacked out. We did a review on it. It's a phenomenal series, and that particular bag is amazing for all the options that you can really come up with and do yourself, which is awesome. So that would be one, or the 511 Dart that I am currently wearing that we did a video on recently. Phenomenal bag if you like external water bottle pouches. Again, very low profile, superb layout in the external pockets for organization, and a very large main pocket for computers and tablets and other gear that I would want to throw in there, that it's kind of big and bulky and very comfortable. And those two really, for me, if you were to walk up to me and be like, dude, I need an EDC bag this year, those are the two I'd recommend that you look into first. And just to be clear, I went over to the 511 store and I purchased, with the money that we create and generate through this channel, I bought the Amp 24 and I bought the Dart 24. So those were both purchased through the channel, through the links that we offer, that you guys purchase through through and how we, generate the income here. So we just really appreciate it when you guys do use those hyperlinks. All the gear you're about to see in this video will be in those hyperlinks below over to Backcountry, Knockaround Sunglasses as well, but Blade HQ and Amazon. All of those will help us continue to make content and just help us. It's free for you, helps us continue to do what we do here, and we just really appreciate you guys using those hyperlinks. And finally, before we jump to the tabletop and gut this bag and show you what, regardless of the bag I'm carrying, what are the contents that I'm regularly EDCing right now, an honorable mention in our third place position for everyday carry bags that I would recommend to you would be, I think it's Mountain Smith's like Commuter Series. I'll annotate it in, but it's their Divide and I believe their Grand Tour. Their Cordura fabric, about 600 denier, very low profile. They don't have any concealed carry compartments. So the other 4 that I've listed today from Vertex and 511, they do. So if you do like that aspect, and they don't really have that, but for everyday commuting, they are phenomenally well built. They have great warranties, and they have a very low profile, and I really like those as an under $100 option, because all the other bags I listen to you are over $100, but those will easily run between $60 and $80. Just depends on where you get them, what color combinations. They have black, they have tan, they have a couple other combinations that are out there. So check those out if you aren't really concerned about like firearm mounting in a backpack, but you want good quality everyday carry bags under $100. Those in that series are phenomenal. Have many friends that I recommend it to. They use them on a regular basis. So with that, folks, let's go ahead and jump over to the tabletop, dump this bag, and show you all the contents that I carry in my everyday carry system. All right, so we're going to be going through the Dart 24, and this does really have, guys, if you haven't seen the review on this, you got to go watch the review on this Dart 24 by 511. It does have a fantastic layout. One of the few packs out there that I think doesn't need a lot of organization because they really thought through the layout. So what I do on this side, and I recently posted up our update for 2019, full stashed out medical pouch on the pocket, on one of the exterior pockets. You always want something that is quickly accessible, that other people, in case you're the one injured, could identify that you have a med kit on you. And I have everything, from tourniquets to blood clotting material to boo-boos to painkillers and antihistamines, all of that. So if you want to find out all that I put in here, you can check out the video below, in the links below, for my medical kit. But always make sure that whichever EDC bag I'm carrying, that I have something that's fully decked out and that it's quickly accessible in the outside, near the outside of the bag. And then if we flip it over on the other side, rocking, the Nalgene, classic Nalgene. I love this one. This is the green one with the Nalgene product logo and a mountain lion on there, and then I have a Human Gear lid. I've been rocking these for quite a while. They worked really well on the 32 ounces. The 48 ounce silos that I will use a lot of the time, it'll tear because of how heavy the water is on it over about a year. These aren't cheap. These are almost the same cost as a Nalgene. They're about $6 to $8 for one of these Human Gear lids. Now they're awesome and they really help to the drinkability, but always make sure I have a good amount of water on me. Then on the exterior for this one, and I always make sure I have these with me in some way, shape, or form, are some Cottonelle butt wipes. What happens if you're out there in the urban jungle and you got to take a dump and the toilet paper runs out, or it's just horrendous toilet paper that's just pilling up and it's going to leave stuff behind? I mean, that's the worst, right? So I always make sure that I have a good set of that when I'm out and about. Then we go to the main compartment, well, not main compartment, one of the organized compartments here, and I always make sure, because where I live in the Rocky Mountains, we have snow and sun 300 days a year. So I always make sure that I have a pair of sunglasses on me. I got my custom knockarounds that I built, and this one happened to come with a little sleeve there, super nice. Good fleece pocket on that backpack too, and that's what I love about a lot of 511s. But anyway, so always make sure I have a pair of sunglasses, and if I was doing work around somewhere and I didn't have safety glasses on hand, at least that would protect from some basic, and then I always make sure that I have about $50 in cash on me in different, I got a 20, I got a 20, I got a 10, and then I got 2 5s, and then I have some 1s and some other stuff in there. So I always like to have cash on me. What happens if the power goes out, credit card, gets declined for whatever reason? I got to have some cash on me at least, to fill up the car, to pay average, meal or something like that. Or if I just want to bless somebody, sometimes I'll do that as well. See somebody, you just have it on your heart to go, I just want to bless you. Here you go. Someone in need, something like that. So there's that, and then I'm going to try to cover this up. So on the other side, I make sure that I have my wife's name, and it says wife next to it, emergency contact number, and her phone number. Because what happens if I'm in a car wreck, I have rolled over and I could have easily died in a car a few years ago, and they're going through my stuff trying to identify my wife. Maybe the phone got thrown or died or broke or whatever. And they got to find some emergency contact info. I'm incapacitated. That's an important thing to have, some sort of emergency contact if you're not married or don't have somebody living with you that you could put down for that. Put your parents, somebody, and say who it is. Mom, dad, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever it is, the spouse, whatever, son, daughter, so they know that this is the emergency contact and this is the person to call. So I make sure to have some of that. All right, one of the side wings here, we got a lot of tools and a few other things in here that we'll run through. So I love, you can get them, I think this is the brand that Lowe's carries, is this brand right here. I think it's like CLC. You can get Husky brand pouches. They're really inexpensive. You can buy like a pack for like $10. You don't always have to go, don't get me wrong, I love Maxpedition and VanQuest and a lot of those guys that are 511 that do the organized pouches, and I have tons of them. But sometimes you don't need that, and you don't need to break the bank, particularly sometimes they're overkill. And so, just good little keeper there, very heavy duty nylon, good zipper. This just has some stuff that I don't want flying around in there. So I have an Olight headlamp. I think they have now discontinued these, but this only runs on 2 AAA powered batteries and runs for a very long time. And I always like having hands-free illumination. So I make sure that I have that on me. I have one of the Trinexine, I can't remember the name of these off the top of my head, but anyway, one of those fuel tablets that the military uses that literally like a spark will get it burning, and it'll burn for several minutes. Wind, rain, it will not put it out. I've tested these are amazing. So would basically be able to start a fire in any condition with literally just a spark. And then I have a good light my fire fire steel with a whistle attached. And then I have, of course, a Bic lighter, high vis. And then I have some iodine tablets for water purification that I could throw in the Nalgene if I had a couple days without purified good water. I could have that in there. That's always important, I believe. And then some AAA powered batteries for the headlamp, and another little flashlight we'll see here that run on AAA. And then I make sure that I have one extra batch of CR123 batteries as well, and I make sure they get good brand on that one, and you'll see that with some of the flashlights that we see. But anyway, that's all in that little pouch. So that's kind of like my little emergency battery, and like if I'm getting into that, it's probably a pretty bad scenario. Hopefully do not have to ever use those, type of things. And then we'll go to the multi-tool. I always carry a full-size multi-tool, and yes, I am still carrying the Gerber center drive with all the bit kits in there. Really good one-handed opening, medium to light duty. So we did the test, and I do know that these carbide teeth will break before Leatherman teeth will. But the things that for me really sell this is the one-handed deployment. I can easily cut 12 gauge wire and baling wire, those type of things, which is usually what I'm going for. Tightening down a bolt, light duty stuff. I'm not I'm not in a war zone. I don't need to be working on a car for hours and hours and going through nails and cutting nails and going to crack these things. The three main things is the quick deployment that way, the large one-handed blade, and the very long arm extension that's just right there ready to go with all the bits, and the fact that it takes hex head. It's still the major selling point for me to keep as my go-to, because even in an emergency situation, I'm not going to be doing super heavy-duty hard stuff. I prefer, and I've seen major value in particularly the screwdriver extension arm. There have been multiple times where a Leatherman would not have cut it, none of my waves or anything like that, without their goofy extension arm that I don't really like using. It's another piece, and you could lose it, whatever. I just prefer this for my environment, for my scenarios, and I bust that out a couple times, a month for different stuff around the office, or working on the car real quick, something got loose and I just want to tighten it up, it's rattling around the cabin, or whatever. Trucking right along here, fixed blade, my tricked out with an AZ Welke sheath. AZ Welke does great Kydex work on a lot of stuff, man. I mean, we have a lot of AZ Welke stuff, and they do a great job. And this is on the Jaros Globe Trotter. This guy is going to be 3.5 inches overall blade length. Cutting edge is about 3.25. Really nice and stout. Fantastic ergonomics. It's better than a neck knife because I get a bigger, longer, fuller handle and a longer blade. Most neck knives, they're going to be shorter blades, or they're going to be full flat grinds for a lot of them, unless you're going to go way expensive, which is fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but I rarely use the tool, but it's good to have this as the backup in that emergency situation. I could use it, in harder tasks. It's got a thick, stout blade, but still a good enough edge that I can do woodscraft if I needed to, cut through stuff, and will outperform in hard use, say a pocket knife. I always have at least one on me, and I would go to my Gerber Leatherman or the pocket knife first, but that is a fantastic backup to have. Now, all these tools, the knife, the multi-tool, the pocket knives that I always have on me, you know, those type of things, my keychain tools, what am I gonna use to sharpen them? I've gone around all sorts of different ways. I have this only because I tested it and I figured, all right, well, I have it already. I don't need to sell it off. I'll just use it. This is the Work Sharp. I can't even remember. This is like their smallest version. Has one diamond stone, one ceramic rod, which is great for tuning stuff up. You know, you find a little burr on one of your tools, on your pocket knife that you took out, you know, you left for the day, you start playing with it and you're like, well, this is what needs to be tuned up, and I didn't realize that. This gives you enough to get something like that done. This is not a recommended one. I would recommend going with the Work Sharp field sharpener. I have several of those just to save you money, because it can do way more than this can, and it's only going to cost you about $10 more than this. So that's why and it's not that much bigger. The only reason this is in there is that it's enough for pocket knives and the small fixed blade that I carry and the multi-tools, but if you have a field sharpener, it's redundant, and I would just rather go with a Work Sharp field sharpener. For the $10 extra, you're gonna get way more performance out of it than that guy would. All right, and then finally snack time, right? I mean, what happens if we're stuck out there and I gotta, you know, out for 2-3 days, I'm stuck in an airport and, you know, the power is out, so the ATMs aren't working and the credit card machines aren't working, and I burned my $50 that we talked about earlier. I gotta have some fuel just for a little bit, have to get home in an emergency situation, or a lot of times it's 11 o'clock, and I'm just really hungry. Maybe I did an early morning workout. Maybe I did something, you know, that I know we're not going to be eating lunch until much later, and I'm starting to get a little lightheaded and I'm not focusing. Got to have some good energy and good snacks and things like that. So I always have a Ziploc bag with me. There's nothing like super magical about anything in here. You know, it's not like, oh, bro, these are like the best things ever. I just got like granola bars in there, got some fig bars, things like that. I do have a couple instant Starbucks coffees. You know, those things are always good in case you have a caffeine fix and you need that. Gum in there. I always make sure that I have some floss too. I mean, the worst is, like, for me particularly, you know, getting some salad stuck in your teeth or something like that, or just a kernel, something you ate, you know, it's just bothering you all afternoon. You're in a meeting, you're just like gumming your teeth for an hour. It just looks obnoxious. So I always make sure I have a few floss pieces in here. One thing I do want to point out to you or two things, is first off, I always make sure I have some emergency. It just gives you that extra boost, again, better than caffeine. Sometimes, you know, and if you're not feeling well, if your coworker isn't feeling good, you're lightheaded, because emergencies usually got some vitamin B and different things like that. I always burn through those, not just when I'm sick. They're a great kind of little boost in the day if you need that, and you're not, you know, you need something more than just a cup of coffee. So those are really good. And then the other ones that you can pick these up, EO natural deodorant wipes. So let's say, you know, you've been marathon meetings all day, your deodorant's pretty good, but then you got to go straight to some other event that you forgot about, or, you know, learned about last minute, and, you know, you're going out with your friends after work, and you forgot your deodorant stick, or the deodorant stick ran out, or you just don't have it with you. Those wipes are epic. You can wipe away the residual stuff from the day, and then they leave a really good scent on you. I think you can get scentless ones as well, but man, those things are awesome. I'll have links in the description below for those. I always have a few of those, hand them out to buddies, you know, when we're at work, and it's like, dude, oh my gosh, I was up on stage and I was just sweating my brains out, you know, and I gotta hop off now, and I can smell myself, dude. Boom, here you go. Wipe yourself off, and, you know, you're good to go. And it leaves a good scent that will last for several hours into the evening, or, you know, whatever it would be. So those are very, very beneficial. All right, bouncing to the other side. This is more of the admin stuff that I carry with me on a regular basis this year, that I've added some new stuff for sure on this side. So hopefully this will be beneficial. So down here I have with me, always got to have the Tide pen. You guys know this, you've been following the channel. If I can get it out. Come on. Tide pen down over here, super valuable. I tend to make stains on myself from a couple times a week, and those Tide pens will really work well for a lot of stuff. Then, you know, you got your basic pens, highlighters, Sharpies, all that jazz. Now, the reason went with this is really for value's sake. They have a newer version that I think is a little bit more efficient, and different things like that. But I'm rocking a 511 TP, or or PT, what is this? A TPT-L2. That's what those CR123 flashlight or batteries are. This is definitely more of a tactical feeling flashlight. The headlamp would be, more of I just need to see around. I'm working on something, on the car, something like that where I need hands-free stuff. This is way more like, okay, we're in a threat situation or all of my other batteries are dead, and this is the last resort because it does have that high beam, really good and focused. It will have a low beam that will extend the battery life, and then it will have strobe as well for different situations. And good strong polymer. You can mount it to a lot of weapon mounts on firearms for long guns, things like that. The newer version I have not tested out. They were clearing out the old versions, and I picked these up with a pack of it came with 2 CR123 batteries for like $7. I mean, it was cheaper than literally buying 2 CR123 batteries. So I bought like 4 of them at the 511 store when they were clearing out the old batch of the older models. So that's why I rock that. I have tons of them, and they work well, and that's why I use them. So moving right along, I always make sure that I have a glow stick with a string attached, so that I can crack that. Those glow sticks, don't go with the 99-cent ones. I did a little research. I got like a 12-pack for like $15, $16. They're a little bit more expensive, but they will last longer. I tested one, it lasted 12 hours easily. It's a great way to have when in low light, be able to see stuff, pitch black, leave as a marker. And with the rope, the reason for the rope is you can crack that thing and spin it over your head and get an illumination of like 6 feet flying in the air. A lot of people will do that to signal helicopters and, in emergency situations. So it's a great signaling device with the cordage attached to that. So I always make sure I have a glow stick for that. And, again, if I'm using flashlight for something else and all my batteries are dead, at least I have one last emergency option. Now, this little guy I've been carrying recently and really happy with it as a backup for utensils. I just feel like I need it for a certain situation. People are handing out just like the cheapo plastic forks, knives, whatever, and it's just not cutting it. This is the Yuko Switch Spork. What I really like about it is it seats really well together, but I have a dedicated serrated knife that works well. I've got the spoon that works well, and I got good strong tongs. This is dishwasher safe. The really cool feature as well is that I can flip it, and it makes over a 7-inch eating utensil for dehydrated meals if I was having to reach down and cook in some situation or whatever. But it's a very cool little setup. Walmart has them for $4.99. Yeah, buddy. And normal price on Amazon is like $8. So those will be in the links below. But started carrying that. I was very happy that I did that, and do use it from time to time, particularly when I forget, utensils or something like that. Next up, I have about 25 feet of paracord. That might be 50 feet of paracord. And that is UST survival cord, in that it's still 550 paracord, but then it has an emergency bank line of fire cord in it, so I could use that as a fire starter all in there as well. I've tested it. It works much better than other more name brand stuff from what I found, and it's high visibility. That was another thing too. I wanted high vis, not low vis for this particular situation. Then I got hand sanitizer in there, not a big deal. And then I also have the Gerber, what is this? Their EST, I think, or I'm jacking it all up, only annotated in. But their little box cutter that is liner locked, gives you a little bit more exposed edge, placeable, great backup pocket knife. Very once in a blue moon, I will forget and I will run out the door and I do not have my pocket knife on me, and I always like to have something that's accessible. I wouldn't want to be bulking around that, multi-tool all day. So this is a backup pocket knife as well. Looks like a pocket knife, very, very sleek, slim, and still can open that bad boy up and then do some fine cutting if you need to. In light duty tasks, it's not some super heavy duty box cutter, but particularly if you run into a situation either where somebody's asking for a knife, they're like, hey, can I borrow your blade? And I'm like, no, because I have seen you work with knives before and you're an idiot. And you're gonna jack up my $200 pocket knife I'm EDCing today, then you can give them this, and who cares if they jack it up. Or you yourself are like, I got to go work on something that you're a little concerned, you just don't want to mar up your blade, and might as well just mar up this thing. It'll absolutely do the job, and I really enjoy that. Light, slim, easy to EDC. Then finally on the Keykeeper back over here, I always carry a Stanley Fat Max 6-foot measuring tape. There's just so many times, you're at the store, you weren't thinking of this. Literally just happened to me the other day, and thankfully I was about to go back out to the car but there was a blizzard going on. We had the polar vortex
vortex bomb happen here in the Denver area where I live a few weeks ago. I was over at Costco doing grocery shopping, and we've been talking about getting a sound bar, and we have a weird place that we need to place the sound bar in the house that has only 36 inches of actual size. And Costco had a deal going on. They had like a way discounted compared to what it was on Amazon or whatever for this particular model I was looking at. And I wasn't 100%, and I needed to actually measure the length of the sound bar. And so thankfully the associate that was helping me, he had a tape measure, but if he hadn't, I could have easily run out to the car, grabbed this little guy, and measured it so I would know instead of just guessing and getting it home or whatever. So it's just good to have a little Fat Max 6-footer, emergency tops whistle, got an emergency house key, and then I have an Olight, I don't know, that TIEO, whatever, AAA powered. So that's why I have all those AAAs in the little pouch. And that's why I made sure that my headlamp was also a AAA powered, so I can just have several. All right, hitting the home stretch. And we're gonna go into my tech organizer and the main compartment here. Now, this is Rough Enough, 13 point whatever, I can't remember, inch organizer that I purchased about 8 months ago, and love it. This will revolutionize almost any pack that you carry. It gives you a lot more options to carry in different types of bags that you maybe wouldn't have before. We're going to break this all down, show you all the tech that I carry with me, battery chargers, USB stuff, all that. So that we'll look at that in just a moment. This thing though is just amazing. You just slide it in, pull it out, and all your tech is in there ready to rock and roll. And you're not like, oh, well, my iPad's in this pocket, but my computer's in this pocket, and my charger's in that pocket over there. It's all right there, ready to rock and roll. You don't have cables and chargers and plugs all flying all over the place. But in the bottom, because again, where I live, two things. I always make sure I have a good knit beanie. You know, I tend to usually do the Carhartt knit beanies. They just work well in a cold environment. But I always make sure I have leather gloves for two reasons. They block wind, so in a really cold thing, these are lightly fleeced as well, so they're great. Even in summertime, it would take a long time for me to really start sweating in them. But I always make sure I have leather gloves in case I have to work on a vehicle, and let's say the vehicle has like a hot motor, hot oil, something going on, you know, like that. Any other type of heat that I may have to be dealing with in some sort of emergency situation, you know, chains, things like that. The leather will just hold up to a lot more abuse and won't melt on me by accident. So I always make sure I have a pair of work gloves with me that are leather. So again, this is the Rough Enough. It's about 20 bucks, Cordura fabric. Just simple design, one grab handle. There's no shoulder straps or any attachments like that, or even hooks for shoulder straps. That's the one thing I would have liked to see, is if they had just included even just 2 D-rings and a very thin, you know, like this thick strap, just for those people who need it. I don't need that. Even has a little panel here. You can write your name if you want to. Very, very good. YKK zippers, very good. So pretty thick, probably like 4 ounces or 4 inches thick when I have it all maxed out with what we're looking at. But again, it just creates a sleeve of all my books, all my tech, all in one spot. They're not flying around in different backpacks depending on what I'm carrying, how I'm carrying it. You know, I can throw it in a duffel bag if I'm traveling, not a big issue. So we'll look at the 2 main side organizers first. Paracord toggles on those. So I always make sure that I have like 1 pair of earbuds, you know, working with heavy machinery sometimes. You know, as a pastor, a lot of you guys ask, I am a pastor. And as a pastor, and I'm an associate, I'm not like the lead pastor, you've got to be a jack of all trades. One day you could be shoveling snow. The next day you're preaching a message to the congregation. The next day you're meeting people at the hospital. The next day you're helping somebody who broke down that called you on the side of the road, and you're trying to push them out a couple miles away, you know, from the building. I mean, it's a fun environment, be able to bless people, but you got to be ready and you got to be on your toes. And that's why I carry a lot of this type of stuff that maybe some of you in the office may not necessarily always need. And then a bunch of cables. You know, I got micro USB, phone charger cables. I always make sure I have like 2 of each. I make sure, since I have an iPhone 8, that I have the plug, the headphone jack. And then as we dig around in here, yeah, just another cable, several of those micro USBs, just so I can be charging and, you know, like using at the same time. I got some basic JBL earbuds, nothing fancy. I got those like at a Ross, I think, on sale. Always good to have in case. My Bluetooth ones, which are Anchor ones, which are upstairs. Totally forgot about that. Those are upstairs right now. I do use Anker's Bluetooth. They seem to work pretty well. They're not by any means like the best, and they're not the worst. About 25 bucks. Those are the Bluetooth headphones that I use. They connect well though. They have decent battery life and seem to have decent, bass and stuff. Again, I'm not like somebody that, dude, it has to have treble. It's all about the bass, So then I make sure to have, and I love Anker products, guys. I've used several of them. If you've been following the channel for a while, this is nothing new, but I make sure that I have a dualing USB recharging to the wall cable, plug. So I can be charging my phone and my iPad if I needed to. I make sure to have at least one notepad that's right in the rain in case I need to take notes. My tablets are all dead, or whatever. Or if, it's wet and I have to write something down, whatever it would be outside, something like that. Then I don't even know the brand name. It was a basic, it just had good reviews. A folding Bluetooth keyboard that works really well. Very happy with it. I've had it for almost a year, I think now, and works fantastic. And it's not, I don't know if it's a full size, but it's large. I mean, this is 13 inches. It's almost 13 inches. So it's not like one of those little mini ones, your hands are all like cramped. I can type rather well, write I can write long emails with this, and it works great. And I think I've had to charge it one time in 6 months, and I use it, I would say on average 2 hours a week. So it's phenomenal battery life. So that's it in there. Then we go to the main compartment, high-vis red. And this is just a main dump pouch area where I have my tablet, my iPad full size, and that's a full-size iPad. Again, this is some, I don't know, no name. I've definitely dropped it a couple times, got really good dense corners, and holds up really well for my iPad. But got that in there, got a little kickstand that supports it. And then, so I just got papers. This is great for throwing papers in, things like that. Again, so I'm not throwing it in my backpack and it's getting crumpled and you lose it down at the bottom. You pull this thing out, you're like, I know I put my pay stuff in there and I need it, or whatever it is. And then it's just got one side zippered compartment. I did throw a S-Beaner in there just so I could access it, and that's for my Bible. I like reading, what's it called, actual Bible, not on my iPad. I like actually like reading it and highlighting it and that type of thing. So I got that, and then finally I've got a full-size Anker. This guy needs to be recharged. The reason I use this is that this guy will fully charge my iPad. I think that's like an iPad Air 2 or something. I don't know. It's one of the more high-powered iPads. It's been a while. I'm not a huge tech guy. This is 2,000 milliamp is what I got this guy for. So I mean, it's heavy, it's thick, but it has 2 ports. It can be recharging and powering at the same time, so I can be doing my phone and my tablet, 2 phones, stuff like that, and it works really, really well. And I'm very happy with this bad boy right there. So I always make sure that guy is on me.
Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been fun, entertaining, helped you out. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media. We'd love to hear from you guys. Any ideas that maybe I missed, things that you think I should add, things that maybe bags, that I'm not aware of, and just gear in general. I always love the recommendations that you guys give. It gives me ideas for future videos and reviews. So I always appreciate that, guys. You're awesome. Subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. Throwing up videos like this every single week. Make sure to hit that bell icon so the videos will show up in your newsfeed. And finally, always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared. We'll see you out there.